Hello, I'm Sheriff Randy Smith. There is nothing more important to us than the safety of our children. Studies have shown the majority of sudden infant deaths occur when babies are sleeping in the same bed with adults. Being a new grandparent myself, I thought it would be important to help Dr. Preston get the word out about safe sleeping practices for infants. There is nothing more devastating than losing a child. Following these simple suggestions could mean the difference between life and death.
It's really critical to avoid having a small infant in a bed with a parent, a situation we refer to as co-sleeping. There are over 8,000 deaths a year in the United States, which we classify broadly as sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS. Of those, about 74%, or 6,000 of them, are directly the consequence of co-sleeping. A small infant has a very, very, very fragile airway. And so when an infant is in an adult bed with another person in that bed, it really leads to a circumstance where the infant can lose their airway and suffocate very, very, very quickly. It's not just the case of the parent rolling on top of the infant. It's also the infant being in loose bedding or on a pillow that if their head is bent too far forward, they can't breathe, their heart stops, and they die. And there is no greater tragedy than the loss of a child, and when it's a small child like that, it's really devastating to people. So the recommendations of the American Academy of Pediatrics are that when you're putting an infant to sleep, it's the ABCs. They should always be alone, on their back, in a crib, without any extra bedding, without any extra toys, because any of that stuff can compromise the baby's airway and result in sudden infant death. And I'll tell you that there are a lot of barriers to overcoming educating parents against co-sleeping. One of the biggest barriers, of course, is grandparents, because they'll say, well, I did that with all my kids and they turned out just fine. Well, you can stand on the edge of I-10 at rush hour, close your eyes, and get across the street. That doesn't mean it's a good idea. And it doesn't mean that there's not risk associated with that. So there are cultural barriers where grandparents will tell their kids, well, that's how I did it and that's how we've always done it. But if you look at the science, there's no doubt about it that co-sleeping dramatically increases the risk of sudden infant death syndrome.